I'd heard of the riots, but I didn't know about the incident. So for me, it was important that that story reaches people. And what I realized was that a lot of the stuff that was available was very contradictory.
I really wanted to ask you that, how are you taking it? Because you have already spoken about getting the death threats. Are the actresses being at the target as well?
My reality could be your propaganda. What is my reality? You could see it as propaganda, and we can never come to a consensus about who is right or who's wrong. There are elections round the year in our country. Now, because there are elections in Maharashtra, we can't do anything about it. We've actually pushed the film. This is the 4th date that we've got. There are students who are aspiring to contribute to the growth of the country through UPSC, who want to become IAS, IPS officers. 85 to 90% of them are giving exams in English.
हम नहीं बना रहे कोई प्रोपेगेंडा फिल्म जिसको आप डर के अकेले में बैठ के देखें और बोले मैं मानता हूँ इस बात को, चलो एक ट्वीट कर देता हूँ. नहीं, हम चाहते हैं आप थिएटर में आए और जनरल पब्लिक के साथ आप फिल्म देखें.
Hi everyone, thank you so much for watching Spill the Beans here on CNN News 18. Present with me is the star cast of the Sabarmati report. It's releasing in your nearby theatres there on 15th of November. I have very beautiful Ridhi over here. I have Vikrant and Raashii. Thank you so much for joining us here on CNN News 18. It's going to be extremely fiery is what I believe, because the mood is extremely different than our usual episodes. Vikrant, let me begin with you because I'm meeting you after 12th fail, of course. Tell us why the story of 2002 to be told in 2024.
Because unfortunately, people, or especially there's an entire generation from 2002 up until 2024, they do not know what actually happened. So one of the primary reasons why I signed up on this film is because I have kids in my family and in my friend circle who in a couple of years will be college students who are big enough, grown up enough, they have a mind of their own, but they don't know what happened. They don't know what happened on 27th of Feb 2002. Why do we think it's important for them to know what happened is because unfortunately this was that one tipping point, one pivotal moment in our modern history that changed our social fabric, our political fabric, everything. It changed, I think it actually took a 180 spin after this. Another main reason why we want, or I probably wanted to be a part of this film is because we primarily, in the backdrop of what happened with the Sabarmati Express, we are also talking about what role did the media then play.
And it's going to be very important for all of us because you guys are literally donning the hat of journalist, and Ridhi, you go way back, of course. If I could ask you what exactly changed after you got the script, after you worked on this particular film, did anything change as far as the perception is concerned?
I think for me a lot changed in the sense that I think the mind widened. You know, you just sort of had a more open mind towards media and journalism in general. One always knew that journalism is very strong and it's a very strong pillar of society where you sort of give out the information that people seek from you. So that's a very powerful position by itself. But also the fact that there are so many voices that one has to hear. Like running this channel is not like whatever you want to say, you say it. You know, you go on air and say whatever you want to say. You have to run it by a couple of people. You have to, people have to see that, okay, are you speaking the truth in the way that, does this suit us? So what is that? Now, that is what we have sort of seen and understood while we were reading the script and doing our scenes, that there is a lot that goes on, and in that there are honest journalists and then there are journalists that are not so honest, or I would say who are okay to cover up the truth to a certain degree. So there are a lot of such aspects that sort of got opened up to me and the magnitude of things at large from journalism and media point of view, definitely.
But if I could talk to you about the raw material that we gather as far as the news is concerned, and when we actually package it and churn it out, it's completely different. We have to look at different aspects as well. If I could ask you from the perspective of an actor, what is that one moment that you are actually triggered about, that I want to serve it to my audience in this way, but why do you have me to churn it out and filter it out?
See, I think for me, the first revelation was what happened, which I wasn't aware of. I wasn't aware of the incident. I'd heard of the riots, but I didn't know about the incident. So for me, it was important that that story reaches people. Like a lot of kids in my generation, sort of are unaware. Some of them are ignorant. The current generation doesn't know anything. There were some journalist students, I think about 5 in some 80, who knew something about what had happened, and it's very important to know your history. So for me, the reason was to sign this film first was to take this incident to the people. Just like we are unaware, a lot of people are unaware. Even my parents' generation is unaware. Coming back to the research, of course we banked heavily on the research that was done by the team itself. Like they sat for 6-8 months and gathered everything. But we as actors, we had to do a research of that research because a lot of social responsibility lies on our shoulders and people see us on screen. कुछ भी होगा कल इस फिल्म का आवाज़ उठाई जाएगी तो हमारे लिए ही उठाई जाएगी because we are the face of the film. So keeping all those things in mind, we had to do a lot of research. We had to get into nitty-gritties. And what I realized was that a lot of the stuff that was available was very contradictory. A lot of it, if I tried to read it, I tried to read reports, I tried to get into all of that, it was very contradictory. You know. And hats off to our team who's done all this research for us already. You know, so we jumped into it and here we are today.
But were there any prerequisites for all three of you that, you know, you have to read this particular report or you have to go through certain of the articles? What were those?
Stuff that was already done by the team. They had referred to all the possible material that was available because we had to make a narrative and the true narrative, and for that we had to refer to a lot of them just to make sure that we're not taking any side, we're not going left, we're not going right. We see this from a very human perspective because everything today is all about being left or right, right? There's no balanced viewpoint.
When it's the team that's making the film, what is their sort of point of view? What do they want to do? So yes, you know, like a lot of people asking us this question, is it a propaganda film? They could also be a propaganda filmmaker. They could also be a team that wants to use this, you know, entire script or story or this incident and build it up like that. But that's not the case with this. So research was a byproduct. Like when we stepped in, the first thing that came forward was research. You know, it was not like we're making this and the agenda was not anything else. It was, this is the truth, these are the facts, this is what we want to bring out.
And since you have touched upon that propaganda angle, I would really like to ask you, because a lot of questions are actually being asked about the film and the production and how it is going to be served to the audience finally. I really wanted to ask you that, you know, how are you taking it, because you have already spoken about getting the death threats. Are the actresses being at the target as well?
Not yet. And I hope not. And once you see the film, there will not be a reason to. As I said, we have tried to balance it in the perspective, we've tried to show the true perspective of what actually happened, and we've tried to balance it out. And I have seen the film, so I know there's no reason for us to be afraid. Obviously, people will have their opinions, but my only appeal to the audience is, please watch the film and then we are open to discussion. But please don't decide already and give a judgment out that this is all what this film is about, we'll ban it, we'll not see it. Don't do that. Give art a chance, give cinema a chance, because we are a reflection of the society. We want you to see it, we've made it for you. So we want people to come to the theatre. Then after that, if you want to say whatever, we are there to answer your questions.
And then also, one has to be cognizant of the fact that my reality could be your propaganda. What is my reality? You could see it as propaganda, and we can never come to a consensus about who is right or who's wrong, or should I believe you or should you believe me. There is absolutely no space today, unfortunately, for all of us, especially on social media, to healthily agree to disagree.
But this is the question that I asked Dheeraj also, not only about, you know, dividing it in the lens of left or right or a sector of the society, but why right before Maharashtra elections is going to be my question.
I have an answer for this, and the film was to release in May.
Yeah.
There were Lok Sabha elections then.
Yeah.
There is a clear mandate from the Election Commission, whosoever it may be, if there is any movie which has any political backdrop, cannot release. if it was a propaganda film, the right time for us to release the film would be in May
Or April.
or April. Up until the 4th of June, if I'm not wrong, up until June when the results were announced, our film could not be released. There was a very clear direction, or there was a very clear order by the Election Commission via the CBFC, which we got to know that we cannot release the Sabarmati report because it has a political backdrop. So if it was a propaganda film, the ideal time for us was then.
Would have been the Lok Sabha, yeah.
There are elections round the year in our country. Now, because there are elections in Maharashtra, we can't do anything about it. We've actually pushed the film. This is the 4th date that we've got. And we feel this is the right time for us to come out. There are, I'm sure you understand that there are costs that need to be met. The producer is sitting on a very expensive film.
Yeah.
You can't sit on it for too long. We have to release it. We have to sort of do the things that are required. And it is 15th of November. It is Guru Purab. It is a bank holiday. It is an extended weekend. We want people to come and watch the film in November, because there are other films which are probably bigger in scale, and we do not want to clash with our colleagues. We believe everyone should be given their free space to tell their story, the space they deserve, and we felt this was the conducive time for us to come out. So if Maharashtra is having an elections or any other state is having an election, it really has nothing to do with the film.
But I mean, Maharashtra is right next to Gujarat, and we cannot actually keep the politics away from the film, because what happened in Godhra, politics was at the center stage during that entire incident. So you guys are not going to be on the radar of the general public only, but also the political parties. So are you like ready for that?
Our film is looking into the subject from the lens of media. So if you are telling us that there is a political backdrop, well, that's part of the truth. We're not interested in that directly. Like, that's not the first thing we're interested in. We're interested in what did the media houses do in this time period of 2002 and 2007, and what, you know, the time frame that we have, the English news channels and the Hindi news channels. We're all playing journalists, and we all bring a certain perspective, a certain, you know, metaphorically, as we all are representing a certain mindset that we want to present to our audience. So it's got nothing to do with politics, to be very, very honest.
So apart from the Sabarmati, apart from what happened in Godhra, something very crucial that you would be touching upon through the film would be the parity between English news channels and the Hindi news channel, according to you.
Or Hindi and English in general.
Language.
Yeah.
The
okay,
language
language
in
in
general,
general.
yeah.
Okay. So according to you, what is that stark difference? What is stopping us from believing Hindi as a language completely 100%? And why do people still associate the class or, you know, everything with English?
Because we have a colonial mindset that English is more hep and Hindi is not.
The class. Yeah.
Yes, there's a class divide, and we aim to sort of lessen that divide with this film. You shouldn't have any shame with your own language. There's nothing against English at all. But why do we not love our own language enough? Why do we try to be people who are not? You know. So that's something that we try to touch through this film. And even my character, I come out from college, I'm this journalist who has these big dreams, and she wants to join an English channel, you know, and she wants to make it big there. And of course her journey you'll see throughout the film. But coming back to this, I have worked in the southern states, and I have seen myself that people are very proud of their language, their culture. They don't care about English. Whether you know it or not, they don't care. You'll feel small around them because you don't know their language, you know. So when I came back to Hindi, and I realized while I was doing this film, you see, our social conditioning is such that nobody even questions this. We have accepted it, that when we talk, it's English, so what, you know. We have accepted it, but that's not right, you know. Somebody has to take this fight forward. And I'm very happy that my eyes sort of opened, yeah, ye sawal kyun nahi koi utha raha? We should just be proud of our language. There's nothing wrong with it. And not consider anything else superior.
I just want to add something on this, especially with regards to the class divide that we are talking, the colonial hangover that we have. An average Indian man is still intimidated by this language or people who speak this language fluently when it comes to government jobs also today. English is given precedence over Hindi or a regional language. There are students who are aspiring to contribute to the growth of the country through UPSC, who want to become IAS, IPS officers. 85 to 90% of them are giving exams in English. 85 to 90% of people recruited are English medium people. True. Why are people, there is CSAT now, there are other examinations, why do we not, of course it's going to change now, because what I've read is that now regional languages are also going to be given importance with regards to state associated exams and national level exams. It is going to change.
Yes.
But it's changing in 2024. I think this was sort of put into motion last year. I don't know. But why do we get intimidated? For example, an average Indian man, even today, if there is a foreign publication, you immediately look up to them and you're like, ये अंग्रेज हैं तो ये सच बोल रहे होंगे और ये अंग्रेजी बोल रहे हैं तो ये सच ही बोल रहे होंगे.
The only point I'd like to make is there's no problem. We are not saying English is a problem. It's we live in a world where they are dominating and we need to match up with them, and we can. So if language is what we need to reach wherever they are, we will speak that language. But at the same time, that does not mean that someone who lives in a small town, you know, ahead of wherever, Bihar, Gujarat also, like far off, that person should feel underconfident standing in front of someone who speaks in English. And it's a lifestyle thing. It's not just about language. It's about just an English, you know, person who knows English and a person who does not know English. It sort of gets reflected in their life. So, you know, that is unfair, and that's something that needs to change, and we're more than happy if that's being picked up and that's being talked about and everyone's asked us these questions. It's very, very important.
इसी बात पे आखिरी सवाल मैं हिंदी में लूँगी आप तीनों से. फ्रॉम दी एक्टर्स पर्सपेक्टिव मैं ये चीज़ जानना चाहती हूँ, क्योंकि ये सवाल मैं अभी तक जितने भी फिल्म मेकर से बात कर चुकी हूँ या एक्टर से बात कर रही हूँ हाल ही में, मैंने उनसे ज़रूर पूछा है और मेरे को कॉमन आंसर यही मिलके आता है कि लोगों का जो भरोसा है बॉलीवुड फिल्म्स के ऊपर या फिल्म्स इन जनरल जो थिएटर्स में आजकल आ रही हैं, वो थोड़ा थोड़ा खोता जा रहा है. लोग चाह नहीं रहे हैं अपने घर के बाहर, अपने कंफर्टेबल स्पेस से अब निकल नहीं पा रहे हैं, स्पेशली कोविड के बाद, क्योंकि उनको पता है कि अल्टीमेटली फिल्म इज गोइंग टू बी देयर ऑन दी OTT प्लेटफॉर्म ना. तो थ्रू दिस फिल्म व्हाट वुड बी योर मैसेज टू दोज पीपल कि नो, घर से बाहर आओ, फिल्म थिएटर में देखो, क्योंकि मेहनत हुई है, पैसा खर्च हुआ है, टाइम गया है. Why should they be coming out and watching this in theater?
आना चाहिए क्योंकि ये एक कम्युनिटी एक्सपीरियंस है. ये फिल्म आप शायद थिएटर में बहुत इन्जॉय करेंगे जो आप शायद घर पे बैठ के अपनी 4 दीवारों में इन्जॉय ना कर सकें. कुछ फिल्में होती हैं जो आपको थिएटर जाके ही देखनी चाहिए और ये फिल्म वो है. तो प्लीज़ अपनी फैमिली के साथ, अपने दोस्तों के साथ, सबके साथ इसे देखने जाएं थिएटर्स में.
और आजकल ऑनेस्टली मैंने जो देखा है, ऑब्जर्वेशन है मेरा, मैंने इतनी फिल्में की ही नहीं है, पर ये जो मैंने एक चीज़ ऑब्जर्व की है वो ये है कि फिल्म मेकर्स ऑल्सो और जो प्रोड्यूसर्स हैं वो भी बहुत समझदार हो गए कि कौन सी फिल्म OTT पे आनी चाहिए और किस फिल्म को हम थिएटर तक लेके जाना चाहते हैं. तो अगर आप कोई थिएटर तक लेके जा रहा है वो फिल्म, उन्होंने सोचा है कि इसको थिएटर में हमें ऑडियंस को दिखाना है. Because there are many OTT releases also now, right? That come straight to digital. But ये फिल्म इसलिए जाके देखिए क्योंकि एक तो जैसा राशि ने कहा, कम्युनिटी व्यूइंग इस फिल्म के लिए इम्पॉर्टेंट इसलिए क्योंकि ये फिल्म एक सच्ची घटना पे आधारित है और इसमें आप चर्चा करेंगे, डिबेट करेंगे, आप डिस्कशन करेंगे, ये बहुत अच्छा है. मतलब हमारा पर्पस सॉल्व होगा ये फिल्म बनाने का. हम ये नहीं चाहते कि आप किसी से प्यार करें और किसी से नफरत करें, किसी को अच्छी नज़रों से देखें, किसी को बुरी नज़रों से देखें, वो हम नहीं कह रहे हैं. हम ये कहना चाहते हैं कि आप थिएटर में आइए, एक दूसरे का रिएक्शन देखिए और फिल्म साथ में देखिए. हम नहीं बना रहे कोई प्रोपेगेंडा फिल्म जिसको आप डर के अकेले में बैठ के देखें और बोले मैं मानता हूँ इस बात को, चलो एक ट्वीट कर देता हूँ. नहीं, हम चाहते हैं आप थिएटर में आए और जनरल पब्लिक के साथ आप फिल्म देखें.
बिल्कुल. Vikrant, do you have anything to say on that front?
Yeah, I mean, it is a community viewing experience. This film warrants your attention. क्योंकि आज अगर हम लैपटॉप या फ़ोन की अगर बात करें, हम we want your undivided attention. We hope you can give us say 2 hours 15 minutes of your time. To watch it on the big screen is going to be a wonderful experience for you as an audience. And we want your attention actually, because you know we realize that everyone is short of attention, everyone is so overstimulated आज की तारीख में. तो हम चाहते हैं कि आप थिएटर में आएँ, ये फिल्म देखें और वो जो डॉल्बी एटमॉस का साउंड है उसे एंजॉय करें, अपने दोस्तों के साथ आके ये फिल्म देखें. एंड या इट्स अ सिनेमैटिक एक्सपीरियंस एक्चुअली, इफ आई हैव टू पुट इट दैट वे.
And with that, we have reached the conclusion of this interview. Thank you so much for joining us. We are hoping that a lot of preconceived notions will get cleared after this particular interview as well as the film. 15th November, ladies and gentlemen, do stay tuned.